Hello, and welcome to the Stories from the View, a podcast from the Pleasant View Senior Center in East Longmeadow, Massachusetts. On this podcast, we invite East Longmeadow residents and workers here in town to tell us stories about their lives and events. And today, our guest is Christina Cooper, who is the circulation supervisor at the library here in town. Christina also has another identity as an author, as Christina Us. So let's hear all about this. Here's your host, Mary Jenowin Kaplan.
Thank you, Eric. Good morning, Christina.
Good morning.
I would ask our listeners to refer to the picture on the page of this podcast, and you will see that Christina is not an elderly person, but this is going to be chock full of many adventures. And while Christina had a pretty exciting early life, we've decided to focus on what brought her to put her roots down here in the lovely Pioneer Valley. So tell us, Christina, what brought you back home and helped to choose our community?
Very good. Yes, thanks, Mary. Thanks, Eric, for having me. I was a person who has had many adventures in life. Born in Agawam, grew up in Longmeadow, and my parents always thought I would just quietly live at home and never go anywhere when I was a kid. I was a very shy, quiet, bookish kid.
And you became a librarian.
So
Perfect.
A lot of people could have seen that coming, I think, except for me. There were a lot of jobs I didn't realize a person could have, including librarian, I don't know, and also author. Both of these just didn't seem to be something I could do and get paid to do. But so I went away to college and everything changed. I suddenly wanted to see the world, go everywhere. And my parents were very surprised by this, but they're very supportive of it.
You must tell me what college you went to.
Yes.
Because I think everyone should go there and every young person should have their eyes opened.
I was lucky enough to go to the University of Pennsylvania, which I loved, in Philadelphia. I ate a lot of amazing food, cheesesteaks, and I was surrounded by really smart people from all over the world. And it opened my eyes that there was a huge world out there. And I decided I was hoping to be a professor of music. So my major in college was in music.
Really?
Yes, which you can see I'm only using now to be very entertaining and perhaps sing you a song. Because when I did go on to graduate school and I started as a teaching assistant, I realized I do not like teaching. I thought I would, but it was just not my cup of tea. So I switched gears very enormously by walking past someone in the dining hall who I overheard them saying, "I rode my bicycle across the country this summer." And a voice in my head said, "Christina, you are going to do this." And I'd never heard that voice before. It sounded very confident. So I turned to that person and I said, "Tell me about your bike trip across the country." And it was with a group every year for Habitat for Humanity would do this bike tour. And they would get college students to come and kind of publicize all the good work that Habitat for Humanity does. And I said, "I'm going to do that next year." So I told my parents and they said, "Who are you? You're not the bookish, quiet, shy child we raised." But very supportive. I raised money and did this bike tour across the United States. It changed my life. I got to see our country. I got to meet people I never would have met otherwise. And it really put in my heart that when you meet people in person, all they ever want to do is get to know you and help you. And everywhere I went, people would see me and say, "Hey, are you hungry? Are you tired? Do you want to take a break? Where are you coming from? Where are you going to? I have a pie. Would you like a slice of pie? Come in my house." The friendliness and kindness of strangers was astonishing and wonderful. And that led me to want to start to write about travel, adventures, bicycling, and just communicate that when you get out there, sometimes when you look at the news, you feel like everything's terrible and nobody's getting along. But when you get out there and meet people in person, you realize there's a lot of kindness, there's a lot of goodness everywhere you go. So I started to write stories, and I was utterly astonished that people would pay me to write stories. I wrote to a bicycling magazine and I asked them if they had something to give my mother, because I wanted to go on another bike adventure from Vancouver to Tijuana with a friend of mine.
Wait.
Yes,
I'm
let's
not
step
good
back.
at geography, but isn't there water involved? Do you have like pontoons?
We were at the very edge of the water the whole time. We did the coast, basically the whole Pacific coast of the United States. We went from the edge of, just over the border in Canada and crossed into Washington State and went down the border, or down the coast of Washington, Oregon, and California. And then we just decided we had to make it a 3-country, so we went across the border in Mexico to Tijuana for like an hour and then came back. And
It counts. It still counts.
My mother at this point was a little worried that my adventures were becoming more than she could comfortably contemplate. I remember saying, "Mom, I'm going to do this." And she said, "Oh, that sounds nice." And I said, "Yeah, just me and Nancy. We're just going to do this. It's going to take us a month." And she says, "Oh, yeah, that sounds good." I'm like, "Nope, Mom, it's just me and Nancy. We're going to pack up our bikes with our camping gear." And she says, "Are you crazy? What are you thinking? There's great white sharks in the Pacific Ocean and like people, drivers, and who knows what's out there." And I said, now you hear me. Yeah. So I asked this magazine that talks about adventure travel. It's an organization called the Adventure Cycling Association. If there's anyone out there listening who loves bicycling and wants to have an adventure of any size, from riding from your house to the ice cream store to riding across the country, Adventure Cycling Association is your group. And I said, "Do you have anything that I can give my mother to make her feel better about this that says, 'Don't worry, I'm going to be okay'?" And they said, "No, but if you wrote something, like, we'd publish it." So I did. Sent it to them, and I thought they were going to give me a free subscription to the magazine for like $30. And instead, they paid me $800 for this lovely, I had so much fun writing it. And I was like, "Oh, would you publish other things that I'm writing?" And they said, "Absolutely, keep sending them." And that was it. My new career was writing for newspapers and magazines.
About your adventures.
About adventures. Although I would write anything anyone asked me to write. My dad raised me that you got to hustle. And so I would write to any magazine that there's a publication called the Writer's Market. And you could look up which places would accept submissions and how much they would pay. Reader's Digest would pay you $1 a word. That's pretty good. Some other magazines would pay you 5 cents a word. So, you kind of made your decisions. And I would write to magazines that had music, because I had that degree in music. Things for young people buying their first car. I'm like, "Hey, I'm a young person and I need to know about this. I'll research it and submit that." So I was writing everything for everyone. And then I was at the library, where for my whole life, you spend time in libraries. When I biked across the country, I would get to a town, I would come to the library. And when I go to the library, I very often go to the children's section, because some part of me is still 10 years old. And I remember the magic of reading books like Charlie and the Chocolate Factory and The Phantom Toll Booth, and how they made me feel like the world was full of great stuff that nobody had yet told me about. Like, the grown-ups weren't necessarily telling me that there might be a chocolate factory down the street where I could, get a golden ticket. And so I was in that section, and my husband was laughing. He's like, "You and your children's books." I'm like, "They're the best books." He said, "Someday you're going to write a children's book." And I said, "Oh, really? What is the title of this mysterious children's book I'm someday going to write?" And he said, "It's going to be called The Adventures of a Girl Called Bicycle," because I wrote so much about bicycling. And I said, "Oh!" And I grabbed his shirt and I said, "Yes, I am going to write that book, because what is that title? Who is this girl? Why is she named Bicycle? I think she rides her bike across the country. We have to go home right this minute." And I literally opened up my computer and I started typing a story about a girl who decides to ride her bike 4,000 miles across the country, the the same way I did when I was in college. But this girl is 12, and she thinks, how hard could it be? And I had a ball writing this book, and I thought to myself, this is probably the only book I'm ever going to write. So I put in everything that entertains me about life. I put in stories from my childhood. I put in real stories about my bike ride. I have people in my book that are characters. They're characters, but they're real people. And I just could not have had more fun writing this book. And when I finished it, I thought, I think somebody's going to publish this. This is possible. So I looked at that writer's market, and they also had publishers that will accept submissions. So I started looking down the row, and there's Penguin Random House, HarperCollins. So I just went for it, the big names, and I found editors who worked on books that were that same age range, the 8 to 12-year-old readers. And this was back in the day where you would mail things. So typed it out, a little letter introducing myself, and then you sent them the first 5 pages of your manuscript. And I sent it to 10 places, and I waited, and I hoped, and I thought this is going to happen. And what came? A rejection, number 1, rejection number 2, rejection number 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 people told me no. However, at the time, I know, how did they not see this was the greatest thing of all time? And I did not know at the time because I did not have any friends who were authors. I did not think to go to the library to talk to the librarians about the process of trying to get a book published. I just thought, well, that's it. That my heart is broken. I cannot take this level of rejection. I'm going to put this book away, and that's that. I'll just keep writing for newspapers and magazines. And I did not know at the time, the only way you get published as an author is to go through the tunnel of rejections. There's no author on this earth who didn't get rejected.
Sounds like a terrible place, though.
It is a terrible tunnel. It is dark, and you do not know how long it is. And when you go in it, people are poking you with little forks of rejection. And you don't know, maybe you're going to poked 100 times. So if anyone is listening and hoping to become published, I'm sorry that you have to go through that tunnel. But what you have to do is go find your helpers. You got to find the people who get it, who are going to walk through the tunnel with you. They're going to join arms with you, and they're going to pack snacks. And you need to just be prepared that you're going to be in that tunnel a long time. But the only way to get to the light at the end of it is to keep going. You have to just withstand the rejection. So I say writing is my job, but rejection is my hobby. You have to just get really good at it. How do you withstand rejection? So at that time, I was terrible at it. And I put the book away. And then my husband and I said, we'd like to start a family.
Oh, love.
I know. And at the time, we were living in California. So my travels had taken me. I have lived in Pennsylvania. I lived out in Boston. And then California, Hawaii, Colorado. But my husband's from California. That's where, when we got married, we were living there. And when we decided to start a family, I said, you know, where is a great place to live? It's filled with trees, we were in Southern California in LA, which is filled with cars. And the place that we lived, we were on a busy street. And I hate to say this, there was like a drug dealer on the corner. We were not rich people. The drug dealer was nice to us, but I didn't want him to get to know our family. Like, I did not want my kids to get to know him by name. So I said, we got to move. And you know, where I grew up is just beautiful. And my memories of it has wonderful libraries, wonderful parks. Like, it's a peaceful place to live. So we came out here to check it out. And we went to East Longmeadow specifically. My parents still live in Longmeadow. And we looked at a house, and it's the one we ended up buying on Meadowbrook Road. And it's right near the farm, if you guys know Meadowbrook Farm. Mm-hmm. So we're across the street from a strawberry farm. Like, you could smell the strawberries when we were looking at this house. And then you look at the backyard, my husband said, how much of those trees belongs to this house? And the owners are like, all the way back to the farm field. And he's like, it's like a national park. Like, this is amazing. So he was sold. And we moved in. bought the house in East Longmeadow, and I got pregnant immediately with twins. I think they were just waiting for us to buy the house in East Longmeadow to come into our lives. So that was 2006. We bought the house. 2007, my twins were born, Jack and Susanna, of whom I am very proud. And the story of being here in town, that having kids, I had to find other moms, and I made so many amazing friends. The Moms Club of East Longmeadow was a huge support to me. And the library was the thing that really saved my sanity. It was not easy with twins. If anybody's listening who's a twin parent, you get it. I don't think I slept for 3 years. I did have postpartum anxiety, depression, and then I went to the library and realized, because when you don't have kids, you don't realize, the library has a program every single day that you can come in with your kids and you're going to join in. The librarians are taking care of you. They help you find books. They just help you find resources. I had found my people. So we're taking out all the books, the kids are growing up, and we sit together and we read every day. One day we are sitting and we are reading one of my favorite books. I said to them, kids, you can always have your own opinion about books, except for this one. And that is, I was like, you have to love it because your mom loves it. And that one is The Phantom Tollbooth by Norton Juster. It was written in the 60s, so it's been around a while. And Norton Juster, for those who don't know, lived in Amherst for most of his career. So he's a local author. And we're reading it, and the kids are like, yeah, this is really good. Like, you don't have to make it up for you, Mom. And I kept thinking about my book sitting in that drawer. Ooh. And I kept thinking, I really think there are kids who would sit with their parents and read my book and say, this is really, I really like, this is really good. I shouldn't have given up so easily. And so kind of my kids gave me that push to be like, I got to try again. So at the time, I was really a stay-at-home mom. I was still writing for newspapers and magazines, but for the most part, what I was doing was raising my kids. So I said to my husband, I need kind of some support that I'm going to go for it again. I'm going to try sending out this book, but it might take a lot of time, and it might take a lot of emotion. And he said, yep, I will do what I can to support you in this. And I started doing more research. There was an author who had come to the local schools, and I'm totally forgetting her name right now, but I went and asked the library. I said, hi, you guys know me. I've been coming here for years. I'm going to try to get my book published. Do you know anybody I can ask for help? And they said, well, this person just came to the schools, and she's a traditionally published author, not self-published. She has gone through a regular publisher. And they gave me her contact information. So I sent her an email. Jamie Michalak, that's her name. She used to live out here. She's now in Rhode Island. And she wrote back right away and said, you need to join the Society of Children's Book Writers and Illustrators. It's an organization that supports us. And she said, they have a conference every year in Springfield. Every spring, you can come meet authors and publisher, editors, and agents. And I'm like, tell me about the agents. She said, you want an agent. This is like the person who cheerleads for you and gets your book in front of editors. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to sign up. She said, guess what? It's happening, in 3 weeks. She said, sign up today. Like it's going to be the thing you need. Boy, was she right. When I got there are hundreds of fellow authors, and they call us pre-published, before you get the publishing contracts. They're like, you're still a writer, you're still an author, you're just pre-published. And I met people who had been bestsellers, who have sold 1 million copies of their books, and they were right there to talk to me. And they told me about the tunnel of rejection. And they told me, every time you get a rejection, you need something immediate that's going to make you feel better, so that you can even seek out the rejections. And this one person said, I get myself a pie. Every time I get a rejection, I go down to my favorite shop, bakery, and I get a pie that is only for me. My family cannot have any, and I can't eat pie for you. I can't eat pie any other time. So if I want to eat this favorite pie, I have to keep putting myself out there. And I said, ooh, what would I be willing to do to myself? So I decided I get what's called the Rejection Twix Bar. I have a jar filled with Twixes, And I can only eat them. I really love Twix bars, but I can only eat them if I have received a rejection. So if I want one, I got to look at that jar. So I made my list and started sending the book out to agents this time. I didn't send it direct to publishers. I started sending it to agents. And this time you could do email, so it didn't cost a lot of money to send it out. And I would do 10 at a time. And I said to myself, before that jar is empty, I'm going to get myself an agent. And it took about 40 rejections. It's a good thing I bicycle and walk so I can eat those Twix bars. Until finally I had an agent who said, not only did she say yes, she said, oh my gosh, yes, I love your book beyond anything. We are going to sell this. It's absolutely going to be a huge hit. Again, people listening who want to publish books, when you find an agent, they don't get paid till you get paid. Anyone who wants to charge you money to be your agent is not an agent. We call them a schmagent. Stay away from them. This is a person who, they're almost like your lawyer who they only get paid when you get paid. So they work really hard. They'll get paid 10 or 15%, and they will get you much more than you would have gotten by yourself. You remember when I said the magazine, I thought they'd give me a free $30 subscription. She would have been like, no, you're paying her $800. I would have been like, you gave me a pizza coupon. Yay, you can publish my book. So she got to work, and now she was sending it out for me. So when rejections came in, she just kind of said, those people are stupid. Don't pay any attention to that. We're moving on. And she found me the editor, Margaret Ferguson, who said, I love your book, and we are going to sell it. And she was right. My first book is called The Adventures of a Girl Called Bicycle, about a girl, 12-year-old girl who decides to ride her bike 4,000 miles to California to meet who she hopes is going to be her first good friend. And along the way, she meets bike-loving horses, bike-hating pigs. She ends up with a talking artificial intelligence bicycle. She gets chased by a lady in black, all the things. And in the end, she finds out cookies can solve a lot of problems. It's one of the things that she learns.
What a life philosophy. Yeah, absolutely.
I thought this was an important thing to share with the world. And I'm so grateful to say when that book came out, it got on awards list, like immediately. And my editor, she really worked with me. She'd been doing it like 30 years, so she really knew her stuff. She got this book into perfect shape. It sold, so a fun thing to know, because not everybody does, when you sell a book to an editor or a publishing house, they give you an advance. So they know you need to live in the time it takes to edit the book and get it out into the world. So they pick a number, which my agent negotiated and said, here's how much we're going to pay you because we think the book will sell this many copies. So they gave me that, and most times it takes quite a while for your first book to sell out the advance, which means you won't get paid any royalties until you have sold enough copies to cover all that money. My book sold out its advance in a month. Yes, I know. Again, I'm so lucky. It sold in translation, so you can now read it in Russian and Chinese. It sold as an audiobook, so you can hear people reading it to you, which we have at the library. So I was just, there it was. And it only took me about 12 years.
But not continuously, so that's good.
Yes.
So you were busy doing other things.
I was busy doing other things. But my story really comes from, I had this great idea, I had so much fun, and then I gave up. I gave up for a long time. So if anybody here has had a dream that they gave up on, I hope you know, I get it. And maybe you need to come back around and just find your partners to be with you in the hard thing you have to do before you get to your success. That's probably the key. And my kids, oh my gosh, I dedicated the first book to them because they are my cheerleaders. They are always there for me saying, Mom, it's okay. You're amazing. And those people just don't see it yet. So that was a huge thing.
Were they the first two small humans that heard the story
They
of the adventures?
They were the first, exactly, because they were not going to be judgmental in any way that was going to make me upset. Yeah, they just thought it was a great story, and they think of Bicycle, I believe, my character named Bicycle, as like a sibling or a cousin, because she's very real to us. Yeah. And, so book authorship, parenthood, going along great. But the thing about being an author is it is also very lonely. You're in a room with your computer, just typing away, hoping people will like your book. And when I get fan letters, and I do, I always write back and say, you don't know how much this means to me, to know that a real kid really liked my book enough to put on paper. And if you enjoy an author, an adult author, you should write them a letter too, because I bet they are also thinking, even though your book sold out the advance, is anybody really enjoying it? Does it really matter to anybody that I wrote this book? So I thought I need to get out of the house in addition to writing books. And where do I want to be working? Oh, I want to be working in the place that has supported me. The second people I told about selling my book, so my family and my parents, I told them, and then I went to the library. I ran in the door. I ran into the children's room, and there was nobody there. They were all in a meeting. There was just a teenager volunteer, and I just looked at her. I said, where is everybody? I just sold my first book. And she starts jumping up and down. I don't know her. And she's like, that's amazing. Let's find everybody. So we went and found all the children's librarians. I'm like, it happened, because they knew the process. It happened. My book got sold. It's going to be published. It's going to be real. Will you buy a copy? Of course they will. So I went to the library when I said, I am looking for a job, just not full-time, but something to keep me connected to a community. And this actually was the Longmeadow Library has a position that's called a substitute. So when librarians are out sick or on vacation, you come fill in. And that was the perfect match for me, that they basically offer you like, hey, this week we have coming up a 4-hour shift. And if I'm like, well, my kids, I have to take my kids to school during that time, I can't take it. But they're like, how about this evening shift? Yes, I can take that one. And oh, wow, that opened up my eyes. They trained me how to work in the children's department, the circulation department, and the reference department. And they basically said, you are here to help people. When they walk in the door, just find out what they need and connect them with that resource. And I was like, and everything's free. Of course, they didn't have to explain that to me. So you're going to solve problems and help people. And I was like, wow, why wasn't I doing this before? It's everything about my personality that it works. That I love to greet people. I love to meet people. I love to find out what they need. And I know so many weird things about books because I read fanatically, that anytime somebody comes and says, especially a kid, I have to read a book and I don't know what I should read. Or the teacher said I have to pick out this kind of book. And I'll say, that's great. That's great. Even if you don't like reading, I can't wait to help you, because there's some book here that's going to connect with you. So I worked there as a sub for several years. The pandemic hit. Libraries closed. I'm sure you all remember this. And I was very sad. Sorry about that. Very sad to lose. We all got sent home, and we didn't know when those jobs were coming back. And I was out of work for, let's say, like 9 months. I was still writing, and I got a call from the head librarian in Longmeadow that she said, we are going to start coming back without patrons in the library, but we're going to do curbside service, so you can come to the library and call, and we can curate lists, and they say, I don't know, I need a bunch of mysteries. Great, we will just get a bunch and we'll check them out to you. She said, we had one person who we asked to come back, but she's moving to Ohio. Would you be interested in this full-time position? Full-time? You know what? I missed it so much. I said, yep, I'm going to make it work. My kids are now in middle school. and I can drop them off and pick them up. And of course, it was pandemic. Honestly, they weren't going to school. So I said yes. Started working full-time in the children's department. And again, it was that feeling of like, I should have been here forever. If I could go back to my younger self, I don't want to miss any of the stuff I've done, but I also would say, you should probably become a librarian the minute you graduate high school. Like, you should just go for that. So I had a wonderful time. And then the director of the library here in East Longmeadow, Katie McGonigal, she was the head of children's in Longmeadow. She was offered the job here to be library director, which I was so excited for her. She's amazing. If you haven't met Katie McGonigal yet, we're so lucky to have her in East Longmeadow. When she got that job and moved over, when job openings came up here in East Longmeadow, she would mention them to me because she'd say, we really could use you here. And it turned out in the end, they had a part-time position in the children's department. And that was such a great fit for having the kids, writing the books, working part-time. And so here I came to the East Longmeadow Library, which has always been, since I moved to town, has been a huge part of my life. And now I get to be the person that when someone walks in, especially if I see a mom with a little kid, I will always be like, welcome to the library. How are you? No, really, how are you? We're here for you. Anytime you need to come, even if your clothes are on inside out and your kid is crying, we are here for you. The library doesn't need to be a quiet place. You don't need to be anybody but yourself. And you come here and we're going to help you and solve problems. And now, so I worked in the children's department for several years. The position opened up at Circulation. I think it's a year and a half ago now, and I applied for that. I miss children's. I still spend so much time there, but Circulation is also really my jam because everybody who walks in the door of that library, I get to say hello. Everybody from the tiny babies that I'm like, oh come here, to people of all ages. I was astonished. We have volunteers. I head up the volunteer training. I've had volunteers that I never would have guessed their ages. I've had volunteers in their 80s and 90s who are doing amazing work at the library. So whoever you are, whatever your age, please come visit me at the library. It's the best place in town. So that was my long story, Mary.
That's a great story. Now tell me, following the adventures of a girl called Bicycle,
Yes.
Is there a sequel? Is there a boy called
Motorcycle
or Scooter or I don't know. What do you got?
Yep. So there is a sequel to that book, and it's called A Few Bicycles More. It is a play on Clint Eastwood movies, but not like a Clint Eastwood movie at all.
Okay.
So my character, Bicycle, she, in the first story, she is living at a place called the Mostly Silent Monastery. She was left as a child on the doorstep. She does not know where her family is or how she ended up there. In the sequel, A Few Bicycles More, she discovers her long-lost family who has been looking for her for these many 12 years, and none of them ride bicycles. And the mother does not want her sisters riding bicycles because she thinks it's dangerous. So she kind of has to introduce them to the idea that adventures come in all shapes and sizes. Even just a tiny adventure by bicycle is okay. And luckily, I've sold now 6 books total. I have one called The Colossus of Rhodes, about a boy and his talking stomach who fixed all the traffic problems in LA so no one ever needs to get car sick again. A book called Eric versus Everything, which is about a boy who feels like he might be afraid of literally everything in the world, but his parents want him to act like a Viking. He lives in modern-day Connecticut. And he takes up bicycling to kind of get away from his family and face his fears. I have a picture book called The Island Before No, about an island of walruses who say yes to everything. And they then have to face a kid who takes over the island, eats all the donuts, paints their cats, does everything terrible because he can say no, and they need to learn to stand up for themselves. So that book is for everybody who's ever had problems saying no and maybe says yes to too many things. And my newest book is coming out. I have it here.
You're hearing it here first.
No, this is the advanced reader copy that will be officially available March 3rd. This book is called Midnight Mayhem, about a boy who stops needing to sleep forever for the rest of his life. He will never sleep again. And the choices that he makes to fill his nighttime boredom, which are banana pants. He gets together with a friend to release wild animals into national landmarks, and a variety of things that seem like a good idea at the time and that always seem to go wrong. It's about friendship and eating fabulous foods, and I hope it makes people laugh. That is my main hope. And that's, again, for 8 to 12-year-olds.
And it sounds like children of all ages might be able to enjoy your writing because it's surprising and serendipitous, and you never know where it will land. And I will admit, the only one I've personally read is The Island of Before No, with the walruses. But it sounds like you've got quite a lineup.
I do. Again, I feel so lucky that I have this wonderful agent. I've had wonderful editors. I am a very lucky person.
So long ago and far away, you were a music major.
It's true.
What, do you have an instrument? Were you a vocalist? Who becomes a music major?
Who becomes a music major? Yep. And God bless my parents that at no point did they say, "What are you doing?" They just said, "That's lovely." So my major was in musicology, which is really music history and theory rather than performance. I do have an instrument, and it is the guitar. And then I also have taken up ukulele in recent times. And I will make up songs about my books with my ukulele. But so my major is in music history and theory. So if you ever have a question about that, boy, I love to talk about it.
Wow. Very different.
You know, some of these books, though, sound like they could easily be made into movies.
From your lips to the ears
Okay.
of film producers everywhere.
Go.
Right? I can't help but think this girl riding her bike across the United States, wouldn't that be
Yeah.
a feel-good movie? And it would show the beauty of our country, like the difference she goes through from Virginia and these hills, and then Kentucky with the horses, with a little bit of Illinois, and then Missouri. Oh my gosh, I had no idea how beautiful Missouri is. There's all these swimming holes, and the Ozarks are wonderful to bike up, and then you roll down, and you almost get all the way up the next hill. And Kansas, the sunflowers. Oh my gosh, it's flat. Don't we love that? Because we're bicyclists. And then the Rocky Mountains in Colorado, the first time seeing those from the seat of a bicycle blew my
They're
mind.
tall, Christina.
Oh my gosh, they're tall. When I saw them, because it's kind of the plains before you get there. You think you could see them from a really long way off. You can't until you're pretty close. And I remember looking and saying, wow, those clouds are really low to the ground, and they're kind of jagged, and they're purple. And wow, those are not clouds. Those are mountains. Yep. Oh, so much goodness.
Movies.
So if you know someone,
Okay. I don't. But, I mean, it just seems like a natural progression here.
thank you.
And, you know, the plots that you're talking about, it was like, I could see that as, you know, one of the old after-school specials that they used to have on, you know, or that type of thing, you know? I mean, it just kind of, I don't know, just kind of hits me, so.
Oh, and you had asked about the music. Would you mind if I sing just a little song for you about
Would
this
love
new
that.
book?
We would
This
love
is
that.
a podcast first from Stories from the View. We want to hear it.
So my new book, Midnight Mayhem, it used to have a different title. It was called The Cure for Boredom. And so I've written a song. It's long, so I will not sing the whole song for you. But the beginning of the song goes like this. Some people say that it's good to be bored. These people are wrong and they should be ignored. Boredom is bad. You want it to end. It's your body's way of saying, go find a friend. So that's the beginning. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Love it. I did also see a YouTube video talking about
The Island.
the Island of No, which was very entertaining.
Yes, go
You
look.
definitely got that kind of theater vibe going here,
I
Christina.
appreciate that. Yes, anybody who wants to know more about my books, please look at online for my name, Christina Us, spelled USS. You'll find lots of info. And if you want to find more about me as Christina Cooper, library employee, you can look up the, I think it's on the COA Facebook when we did the pie eating contest for the Little
Well,
E.
I was going to say,
Yes.
while this would normally be the natural ending, I would be remiss if we didn't mention that. So set the scene for those who were not at that particular event.
Yes. So everybody, come next year. The Council on Aging hosts the Little E when the Big E is going on. If you don't want to deal with the crowds, come on down here. We're going to have all the library or all the town departments. We'll be giving out information, raffle prizes. We'll have horses and goats, and we will have a pie eating contest. Which last year they encouraged anyone who wanted to come and try to eat the little Big Y, apple pies, or they had apple, cherry, chocolate, blueberry. And of course, I raised my hand as soon as I could. Can I go do this, please? I really thought I was going to win. I gave it my best shot. You had to keep your hands behind you and dive into the pie nose first. And it looked like I was going to win it. I was right in front till at the very last. One of the fire department folks came in at the wire, and he finished his pie first. So I have always thought I could win an eating contest. It's a personal dream of mine. So far, no luck, but I'm coming back next year.
How inspirational. Christina, tell me, do you have any, we have learned so much about you and about life philosophy, but do you have any other final words for our listeners? A call to action. We've got the book coming out. We've got your repeat performance at the Little E coming up next fall. But what do you have to tell our listeners?
Very good. I think I would leave you with library thoughts. I want to make sure everybody knows libraries are the heart of your community. Everyone is welcome there every day of the week. And a very sincere invitation from me. If you haven't been to the library lately, please come visit us, because we are there to help you and solve your problems.
Can't argue with that.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
You so much.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here today, Christina. We do appreciate it. While Christina was talking, actually, I just Googled her name, Christina Us, U-S-S. She has a website, ChristinaUs.com. She's also on Instagram. Like Mary was saying, she's on YouTube. And her books are available on Amazon. So, hello.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yes. Local bookstores. All the local bookstores carry them. So,
yeah.
Support
So-
your local bookstore.
Right. There you go. So anyway, so thanks a lot, Christina,
Thank
for
you.
being here
Thank you,
today.
Mary.
The Stories from the View podcast is available on the LCAT 01028 channel on YouTube. We're also on Spotify. If you have a story that you'd like to share on the program, contact Pleasant View Senior Center Director Emily Constantino by calling her at 413-525-5436. Thanks so much for listening. We'll see you next time on Stories from the View.